Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It is episode 3 of the Learn Out Here podcast. I am Megan. We have not been here for a minute. It has been a holiday break and then some. I apologize for the lack of consistency. We have been holiday breaking all over the place, me and my small family of 4. And so it's been a little while, but I'm excited to be back into it and be a bit more consistent. And another new thing that we have going on is we have video, which is really, really cool. So I'm excited to be in front of you instead of just in your ears. So if you're listening on YouTube or somewhere where you have access to video, hi, it's me. You get to see me in all of the glory, including the dark circles that are currently living permanently under my eyes because of those small humans. So hope you don't mind. Let's dive in. Today we are talking about microbits. Oh my gosh. I hope so much that you have had the opportunity to use microbits in your classroom. I know that sometimes these are just reserved for science teachers or STEM teachers, but this podcast episode is for everybody. So please keep listening. If you're like, oh, I teach English or I teach literacy, numeracy, even, social studies, there's going to be something that you can use these for. So without further ado, let's dive in. Hi, welcome to Learn Out Here, a podcast dedicated to closing the textbook, ditching those worksheets, and exploring strategies that can make education less about the product and more about the journey. I'm Meg, an educator of over 10 years with a love for making stuff. I want to show the value that STEM education has when it's inquiry-based and rooted in real life. In a world where things are increasingly being done for us, learning how to problem solve and create for ourselves is an essential skill. So, jump on in. It's going to be fun. Okay, so this podcast episode is titled 5 Reasons to Get Your Hands on a Microbit Immediately. But to be honest, this could be the 547 reasons to get your hands on a microbit. I could talk about this all day. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it down for you into my top 5 reasons why these things are the greatest addition to my teaching practice, like since the Chromebook. I don't even know. It's fantastic. They've been around for a long time and I hadn't played around with them. I had heard of them. I had my hands in other things. We were using Scratch. We were using Makey-Makeys, all of this stuff, right? We had the robots and all of that, but I hadn't had the opportunity to check out a microbit. And then it was just a few years ago where I kind of dabbled a little bit. And then most recently, in the past year and a bit, I really dug in. So there was a colleague of mine who was very good at microbits, and I had some interest in sort of using it for a project that we were working on in class. At the time, I was helping run a STEM academy, and so she was so kind to sit me down and sort of teach me how to do it, and my brain exploded. It was so cool. And I don't know about you, but I am the type of neurospicy where if I find something that is cool, I will then focus every ounce of my being onto that. And everything that I do, I find a way to fit that in. And for me, that was microbit. And we're actually still going strong. I use it all the time, both in my house and in the classroom. So let's jump in to why you should also have one or 15. Here we go. Number 1, they are easy to code. Easy to code. All right. So the MakeCode editor is browser-based, so you can use it on a Chromebook. Okay. All you need to start is a microbit, a Chromebook, and it comes with the USB connector and everything. That's it. Microbits are incredibly inexpensive as far as tech for the classroom goes. I'm here in Canada, and usually you can find a sale or something like that. They run somewhere between $20 to $30 each. You can also buy classroom packs of 10, which is really great too. But you don't need a microbit for every student. You can have one for a group of 3. And that's why I love it, because that decreases the amount of stuff that you need. And they're really, really small. So easy to code. In the MakeCode editor, it's block-based to begin with. So if your students are using Scratch or Scratch Junior or Octo Studio or anything like that, they are going to flow into this very, very easily. The language is really, really similar. So K to 12, I would say, could dabble. Kindergarten might be a little bit early, but if they had like a small group with an adult, or if you had, like a small field trip situation, small group situation, they could definitely check it out. Another option for those kind of K1 and 2 grades is you code the microbit and then you have them use it. So they learn about the functionality and what it can do. They can use it for projects. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but they're not actually doing the coding. So that's what I would recommend for the younger grades. But anywhere, honestly, from 2 up, we've got you. And I know sometimes the middle school, high school teachers are, I don't know, block-based is too baby. What am I going to do? It's really great because MakeCode Editor can also be switched over to JavaScript and Python. So you can do similar projects, but with a more advanced language. So definitely, like, as far as the features of a microbit go, this is applicable all the way from K to 12 and beyond. I'm still finding ways to use it in my house, which I'm going to talk about in a second. So reason number 1, easy to code, and also the code can shift depending on what grade level you're working with. Reason number 2, the sensors. The sensors on a microbit make it everything that it is. So if you're not aware, microbit is a tiny little microchip, all right? It comes set inside this little microchip are sensors. So there is a light sensor, there's a sound sensor, a temperature sensor, an accelerometer, which can detect movement and also impact, and it also can detect magnetic force. So there are, just in focusing on the sensors, there are so many things that you can do. With your light sensor, what we're talking about is we can test different light levels around the school. Maybe our inquiry question is, which locations in our school would be the best place to have plants grow? If we're looking at temperature, maybe that's the same question, but we also need to take into account temperature. If we're talking about an accelerometer, the project library on the Microbit website has a whole host, hundreds and hundreds of project ideas. But one of them that's really simple to begin with is a step counter. Once you go into the MakeCode editor, you're going to set some variables. So one of the variables can be steps. And essentially what you're doing there is you are coding that anytime the microbit shakes or senses a shake, okay, so that's the accelerometer. Anytime the microbit feels a shake, it's going to change the number of steps by 1. And then you're going to want the display, the little LED display on the front to show the number of steps. So just so I can show you what I'm talking about, this is, if you're on video, you'll get to see this. This is the class pack of microbits. So it's called the club pack, and it comes preloaded. I've already unpacked mine a little bit, so it's kind of messy, with battery packs and microbits and USB cables. So when you take your microbit out, it's in this anti-static sleeve, which is really important. So, apologies for the noise. You take it out, and this is your LED screen. Okay, you're going to notice that you have 2 buttons here, but this is it. It's small. So it's great to build with recyclable materials. You could build, if you're doing a step counter, you could build the band or whatever. So they plug it in using their cable to their computer. They code. Again, the project library has really step-by-step tutorials, or I'm a big fan of scaffolding this. I'm going to put some resources that I have in the show notes. I've done PD workshops with teachers on how to kind of scaffold and differentiate the level of code instruction that they give so that kids can kind of build their creative problem solving with this. But essentially, they do the code, they plug it in, and they download the code onto their microbit. After that, what they want to do is they want to operate unplugged. Okay, so this is reason number 3. We're going to get back to 2 in a second, but reason number 3 why I love these things is that you can unplug and go. You don't have to stay trapped in your classroom. You don't have to stay plugged into a Chromebook. You do the coding, you do the thing, and then it's ready to use. So then you grab your battery pack, you plug it in, and you can go anywhere. You can go outside, you can go down the hallway, anywhere you want, this thing will go, okay? Now, keep in mind that if you're like here in Alberta right now, it's -30 outside, right? So that's going to drain your battery pack. You're not going to want to go anywhere where you're underwater or anything like that. But other than those extreme situations, you can unplug and go. So after that, a step counter accelerometer is one option. Light, sound, we've talked about. The magnetic force is really cool because you can actually make a compass. So social studies, geography teachers, I'm sure that occasionally maps show up in your curriculum. If a map is showing up and you need to do that with your students, one thing that you can do to sort of integrate some technology into that is make a compass. All right, it will naturally calibrate towards north, south, east, and west, and you can use this as an aid to your map rather than using a traditional compass. So that's something easy that you can do. Okay. Again, I'm going to put in the show notes some of the resources that I have for the sensors, but just the ease of use in the science classroom, the social studies classroom, and really anything is great. Another thing, literacy teachers, which can be really fun, is that these LEDs, this little display board here, are LED lights. So one of the earliest simple projects that you can do is to make faces or characters or little emojis or patterns with these. You could use this to sort of add, we've built them onto characters and use this as the mouth. Or you can have this be the character and then they build a little body onto it. That's just something simple that you could do with like a grade 3 group of students. Again, taking what you're already doing in class and integrating some really simple, easy, inexpensive technology is awesome. All right, so number 1, easy to code. Number 2, it's got sensors, which make it amazing. Number 3, you don't have to stay locked in your classroom. You can unplug and go. Number 4 is what I like to call extensions of awesomeness. So this microbit is great on its own. However, it can be even greater when you add the fun stuff to it. So it's super compatible. If you go online, there are lots of different add-ons that you can get that are compatible with a microbit. You can get little robots that you code and then we'll plug it in, kind of like Nintendo, like NES style. You just plug it in and away they go. You can get light strips. You can hook it up to servos. Okay, so rotation servos. And that just extends the realm in which you can build. So while sometimes we had spent our budget money, our tech budget money, buying Dash robots and different robots and Ozobots and things like that, you can do all of that same stuff just with this. So you have one tool that can then do hundreds of different things rather than spending hundreds of dollars on this and hundreds of dollars on that. Just invest in your microbits and then you're good to go. So to give you an idea of what you can do with the extensions of awesomeness, one group of students that I had last year used this and they hooked it up to what's called a hummingbird kit. But really you can hook this up to any servos you want to. And they had 4 servos working 4 different wheels. And they built this car out of recyclable materials. And then their goal was, so they had one microbit that was running 4 servos that drove a car. And then they had another microbit. Okay, and this ties us into number 5. So number 5's super sweet tip is that it has remote capabilities, meaning one microbit can talk to another microbit through a remote, okay? So they built their one microbit with their servos. They had another microbit that was giving instructions to this one, all right? So depending on which way they tilted, their microbit forward, back, left, or right, that gave instructions to move certain wheels on their car. So they were able to build a robot just with 2 microbits. Okay, they didn't have any dashbots driving it. They didn't have any Ozobots. They didn't need an iPad. They needed 2 microbits to do this. It was so cool. Another thing that we've done is we've put 1 microbit with the accelerometer coded. And so have you ever done an egg drop in your class before? So you know how in an egg drop, they build the little structure, you put the egg in and you drop it. And if it breaks, you fail. And if it doesn't break, you pass. Well, this kind of came as an accident one day. We were doing this in class because we were testing parachutes, and I had forgotten to get extra eggs. So I didn't have enough eggs, and I wanted to save them for the final event, but the kids want to test. How are they going to test if they don't have an egg to test with? They could drop it and they will have no idea. So what we decided to do is we decided to code the microbits to feel the impact of the fall. So if it sensed a certain amount of force upon falling and hitting the ground, it would then register as a pass or a fail on whether or not we thought that that was strong enough to break an egg. Okay, so there was a little bit of experimentation and guesswork involved, but generally speaking, it worked pretty well. If you wanted to extend that to higher order or higher grades, you could have the same thing. So this one is sensing the impact at which it falls, and then it's remote transferring that information to this microbit, which will determine if that's a pass or a fail, and then we'll display that information to you. So we had this one falling and operating with the testing crew, and the control we called the mission control, they were upstairs on the balcony reading if it were a pass or a fail. So that's kind of fun. As far as extensions, LED lights are always great. We've done these hooked up to servos and LEDs to run mini golf courses. There are all kinds of things you can do. So what I recommend is that you go on microbit.org, you check out their project library, and you check out their teacher and student tutorials. That is a great place to start. Second, Pinterest, TikTok, Instagram, wherever you consume your social media, go on, search hashtag microbit champion as well, and see what is popping up, because there are so many cool projects that you can do that we haven't even talked about here today. Like I said, I could go all day long with this, but I want to keep this short and sweet for you. So I highly recommend checking it out. And always you can reach out to me at Meg Does Science or Megan Alfano if you need any tips or tricks or anything like that. So I've spoken very quickly about microbit. And with that, thank you for joining us for episode 3. I hope you go out and get yourself a microbit. Thanks for watching.